So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find then the scripture used from the Yishmaelic lineage, from the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Yishmaelic lineage, and also from the Yishmaelic lineage, where we find then very important understandings from Ibrahim and his son Ishmael. That's where then the Islam and the Muslims, the brothers from the first son of Ibrahim, came from. And there are lots of situations going on around the world, and some of them very displeasing, speaking of, because it takes away our understandings from the great teachings of Ibrahim and Ishmael. And quite honestly, some of this information is very disturbing, because it shows then the Yishmaelic brothers are going beyond their means, and then kind of they are out of control. There are lots of people complaining of the Ishmaelites then trying to take over other countries and try to patrol roads and being nasty to other people, and that's not very nice. Because if they perceive of what they believe is not then enough for their restraint, then they should not be forcing other people to do what they want. We must understand the times and the seasons. And there is a situation going on during the time where then we evaluate the manuscripts from the Yishmaelic lineage, and we are examining then the scripture of the younger brother. And as from the understanding of then the Middle East, you always find certain understandings from your elderly brother, because then the birthright is always considered in the Middle Eastern society, such as those who came from the Yishmaelic and Yishmaelic lineage. So then, how would then we understand the Messiah as then the younger brother? How would then the younger brother perceive the older brother then going around and then threatening people? Is that a decent understanding of the older brother, or out of control and out of understanding? So then we must face then the Holy Quran and understand then what Ibrahim taught Ishmael. Because from the relationship of Ibrahim and also Ishmael, we understand then later, when Joseph, from the lineage of Yitzhak, they were simply shepherds. They were very least on the land. Try to understand who they were. The Ishmaelites were very important. They were in charge of caravans. They were very important in doing trade, and then slaves, and then ivory, and then gold, and then silver, salt, you name it. They were in charge of trade. Whereas then from the Yishmaelic lineage, they were simple shepherds. Then they going around amongst the animals, they were very least during the time. And then how would then the Messiah, being then the younger brother, would observe then the older brother? So far he would observe these people, they are out of control. They're going around amongst other countries and they try to take over. That's not the way it should be done. So let's try to understand the relationship of then the older brother, as then from the holy lineage of Ibrahim. That's why we read then the Holy Quran, because we want understanding from heaven. And we understand then the first son is much more important than the second son when related with the layer of understanding of this planet. There is no person more important, because there is a level of Gentile world where most of the countries are, And there is a special relationship related with then the Yishmaelic lineage from the younger brother and the older brother. So then how do we define this relationship? So far is out of control. So let's be very clear. There are many people and authorities of many countries, they think there is some sort of a Judeo from Jews. And let's be very clear, there is no Judaism. Truly what they perceive as Judaism, if they believe there is a creator. Because if they evaluate as religion only without the creator, they may think it would be Judaism. But being a Jew means you are mixing takanot and maasim. You have to study the culture. Takanot, maasim. Takanot were laws that then changes biblical laws, or then the instruction laws. And what did then the younger brother said regarding the instruction, since he did acknowledge his older brother? He had, because it's part of the culture acknowledging the understandings of the older brother. So this is what the Messiah has stated. So extremely important evaluating then where we stand. So then the Messiah said many words and we believe what he said. There is no then Jew. Takanot maasim. Then maasim is then defined as the acts of the leaders of the law, of the Yishmaelic lineage, where they can change these instructions via their behavior. So when we are speaking of Jew, you are speaking of takanot, maasim, mixed with the holy instructions. This is what you understand as Judaism. If you believe in a creator and if you define then what it means holy instructions, then Judaism does not exist. If you do not believe there is a creator, then you may think whatever you want. Then you can define as Judaism, because then it's mixed up anyway. But then when you are explaining if you believe a creator that should give liberty to other people, then you are speaking then of the Yishmaelic lineage from the sons of Yitzhak, the second son, the younger brother. So then, what is going on then with the older brother? Because if the Messiah would come around and say, what is then the older brother is doing? Going around the world then threatening people for what reason? They were already in charge during the time of Joseph. They were the best traders in the market. Of course, they came from the lineage of the covenant with Abraham. So then, what is the understanding of the future? We understand there is then a Chinese computerized system coming. At least for the next 36 months, we should have more linkage of many other organizations bank-wise. As we understand in America, there is the linking up of the Bank of China with the Citigroup. For those who are reading, they understand. Read it in a computer. Read, then do a search. Bank of China and Citigroup, you find they are already linking up. It's not a very huge deal at the moment. But then as time goes on, because of Galah or revelation, you find then the third part of the world where most of the concentration of the ships are at, you understand then the leading nation of the East taking over the trade factory. Try to understand. Producers, manufacturing. Then you have another situation. Simultaneously with the factory producer, you have then the sons of Yishmael making deals from country to country, as they used to do during the time of Joseph. because we are speaking of a restoration. So then, when this Chinese system then comes, and it is very then famous when it comes, because you are going to download a new computer, then the world is going to change overnight. People don't believe it? That's fine. They were never galad. They were never then revealed. Because you have to understand, the stock exchange, or then let's say for instance New York Stock Exchange, you know, those people over there in the lounge over there, and they scream and they talk very loud, and then have then for sale the stocks and bonds and whatsoever else they do over there. So there is a trade going on over there. As you understand, there are investments in a computer, you have banking, and you have internet sales. Those are going to be combined under a single package, where then you can invest products yet not even produced. As you understand, China, they have thousands and thousands and thousands upon products, and then you understand each of them you can analyze in a computer, and you can pick any product you want, and you invest a tiny portion of it, but then you multiply by a big number. And doing this 1,000 times with 1,000 products, and then 10,000 products, as they have those products sold in the market, you get a share of it, very tiny. But then when you combine with the rest of them, then you can realize you get a very nice paycheck. So whatsoever we understand of stock exchange economics, and the way we do trade from country to country is going to change. And as we understand, IMF already told us, USA, that then we must change our monetary system because our money is not valued anymore. So we are transitioning ourselves then to get our tax code straightened out, to get a section of then our government leaned up, and then stimulating then the economy, because the Chinese system is coming. IMF already gave us 36 months. It was then 4 years from last year. So then, based upon the technology, you have to acknowledge whatsoever was done for the last 100 years, it's outdated. The reason why the Chinese system then, as producer, as manufacturers, not dealing making from nation to nation regarding relevant situations, those are going to be involved with the older son. But not until then. So what is the Messiah saying to the older brother? They have to behave a bit more until the time comes. Then when the Chinese system is implemented via downloading in a computer, then the world is going to change. So then the sons of Ishmael, then obviously they are going to be the very leaders of the deals from nation to nation, while there is a producer going on with a computerized system. And then we understand later then the Messiah has more yet. Because so far the older brothers, they are not behaving very nicely. There are then videos, they are going around, you know, on the roads threatening people. Those are not very nice actions. We must understand their position. Whatsoever place they are at, they must be in line with the laws of the land. They can't change the laws of the land. And when they can, they have then to have a reunion, a petition, and then it has to be done via the legal way. Otherwise, then they become countries then, or government overthrowers. And then in some countries it's punishment by death. So then we observe very clearly, based on what we understand from videos. You know, there are some of the brothers, they are truly being nasty. where there is no reason for it. It's because they are ignorant. They must be more acquainted with the Holy Quran. Would then the Prophet Muhammad would let his people then going around the world threatening people? No. He would not do that because he was enlightened. Why would you threat other people if you are enlightened? You threat people because you are not enlightened. So you must have more clarification from the Quran. Let's try, be more civil in somebody else's country. We're going to have to adjust ourselves, and then it's nice having friends and coming together for sometimes a religious observance, reading the Quran, understanding the brothers, speaking with them. But this situation of coming around in groups and threatening people, absolutely not. It's out of control. It's lack of enlightenment. So then, as we understand what's coming in the future, there is an objective for the Yishmaelites. There is no question. But then there is a time yet. The computerized system from country to country is not yet implemented. It's going to be a while yet, around maybe 36 months. Somewhere along the line, and then we're going to have more experiences with this Chinese system. It's not implemented, but it's safely guarded. Obviously, they are not going to say openly until then the economy of U.S. nearly breaks. But then we are not going to break. We are going to line up ourselves and our government with this information and then line up ourselves for the future. Because we are aware we are doing trade as it was done 50, 60 years ago. But then you have to understand technology and computerized systems, they are regulating more and more and more. When the system is implemented, then it is not going to have very many scoundrels in the government. Because every transaction is going to be then recorded. That's why it's self-regulating, and then you find who can then be against this country, China. That's what we read in Allah. But not until then. The system must be implemented first, and then the countries must adjust themselves, but then it's going to be very rapid. Has to have a nice computer with a nice space in the hard drive, and you download, then you are online. You can do the whole 9 yards in a very short time. You can have your money transferred from your banking to your then internet sales, and then somebody else is banking and sending money, sending funds. But then obviously any kind of a country you are doing this, you have to have at least taxes being paid because of the transactions being then achieved. That's when then each country they're going to stipulate some sort of a tax per transaction. That's why it's important updating then obviously the tax code. But I have to kind of make a projection in the future because it's going to be computerized. So when we read Daniel, then we understand knowledge would increase. But it's not only the increasing of knowledge. You have to do something with knowledge. In these days where we find in computerized systems and governments and tax code and then also investments from country to country. In trade, you have to understand there is a higher technological way of doing trade. In most of the countries, they are doing what they used to do 50, 60, 70 years ago. But when you understand China being a giant of manufacturing, are they not a step ahead of the others because of it? It's a normal factor. They are producing the most technology with the least cost for the entire world. Don't you think they would not come up with a system self-regulating to have even more trade? And then catching the others unaware? Well, that's what they are trying to do with us. But we are somewhat aware of it. If for some people it's a talk of the other planet. But wait until our monetary system goes down, and then the stupid politicians in our government, then they have a computer over there, and then they download the system, they are then online. If we are not prepared, other countries will. If we don't have products reliable, serviceable as we used to have, what do we have in the future? Nothing. Our money would be weak, no products, technology taken over by other countries. How can we do trade? You have to understand why Galah and the nation of the third part of the ships in Revelation is so important. Has to have a reason. And the reason is the computerized, self-regulating system. So when this system becomes available worldwide, people are going to start downloading. Then the sons of Ishmael, they're going to then be prepared for deals making from nation to nation. Then the major decisions worldwide are going through the Yishmaelites. Because it's a time of restoration. Guidance comes from the sons of Ibrahim. That's where the Creator had the first contact with the human being. It's natural fact he would give the first son the layer of understanding amongst nations on Gentile level, and then the plan of salvation from the Yishmaelic lineage. Couldn't be any clearer. Please stay tuned.